Yes, it's been a while since the last update, but as you can see in front of you, the Space 1999 Eagle Transporter, the 22-inch test shot is complete. When the production kits hit, I decided I needed to take a little break. There was a couple other models I did at the time, and plus also I didn't necessarily want to draw attention away from those other YouTube video makers who were actually building the production kit. While the test shot does have most of the same features as the production kit, there are some notable differences, and I didn't really want to take away from that because, well, it might have resulted in some confusion. Also, at the same time, too, when you're working on a test shot, doing certain things takes a little longer to do. Simply because although the parts are were very well designed on the test shot version of this kit, there were some differences from the production kit, and I wanted to make darn sure that I was building this properly and getting it done, because if I had made a mistake, there was no guarantee that some of the production parts would be able to work. But I was able to incorporate a couple of nice little aftermarkets. For instance, the engine bells. These are not Alclad. I know I was talking about using Alclad on plastic bells, but because I waited so long, I was able to get my hands on the aluminum engine bells that Round 2 came up with. They did cost a pretty penny, but I do have to say they are worth it. And secondly, I was able to obtain the second set, which included the little tiny thruster quads. Those were very good investments. As you can see, nothing out there really looks like real aluminum other than real aluminum. That being said, I am going to be doing a second Eagle, and I will be doing the Alclad on those engine bells just to see how they are different. When I took my Eagle to Wonderfest, there were about 4 or 5 others that were production kits that were finished. A couple of those used Alclad on the engine bells, and I got to tell you, they came out very, very good. One little tidbit I can pass along when you're doing the engine bells, whether you're doing them in Alclad or not, is it's a good idea to spray the insides of the engine bells in flat black. This is actually correct to what the studio models had. Did the same thing with the baffles as well. It was very easy to do. I mean, I did mask off these engine bells to spray them, and there was a tiny little bit of overspray on the lips. All I had to do was basically just polish those out on very, very ultra-fine sanding cloth and clean it up just fine. Other thing I will make mention of when using the engine bells, let me flip it around to the bottom, is every one of the engine bells that are glued onto this model are done utilizing microcrystal clear, which is a white glue compound. The engine bells on the bottom of the passenger pod, for instance, actually almost snapped on, almost didn't need any glue. The ones that went on the front and rear cage structures, those were a little looser, so use a little bit of a white glue compound, just enough to stick them on there. And the important thing is, if you do that, you do have to let them dry almost overnight. And the more amount that you use, the bigger bonding surface you have, and they stick on there just fine. As a result, later on, if I end up with some really nice plastic engine bells, I can always swap around and put those on. Or if I want to do anything just a little bit different, since these engine bells are pretty expensive, and by engine bells that means the back ones and the VTOL thrusters, the entire set is very expensive. I'm probably only going to have one of these sets, and you never know, I might want to swap around engine bells between my 2 Eagles when I'm done, just to save a little money. Beauty of it is the back engine bells aren't even held on with crystal clear. The baffles, which practically slide on, they hold on with such friction that the back engine bells just stay attached really nice. They're not coming off. One tidbit I will pass along, though, if you are using the engine bells and you're using the stock springs that come in the production kits. Be aware that the back end of this model is going to be very heavy compared to the front end. I believe I talked about in one of my previous videos how I used 4.6 millimeter standoffs in the pods. Let me detach one of them here. Yes, I kept it so I could keep the pods detached. As a result, when the landing struts come up, they don't go any higher than a certain deflection point. And by putting a standoff in each one of the pods, which in this case I just did by layering a couple of pieces of sheet styrene together and then checking them with my dial caliper, they don't go any higher. And by using that in all four corners of the eagle sits perfectly level when I have it sitting on the struts. Now, it would have been nice to have the springs so that when I don't have the eagle on the ground, the gear struts actually extend, and that was the real reason why Brian Johnson's team put springs in there, was so that the struts would actually spring out, not so much so that they would provide a suspension for the eagle when it was on the ground. But so in my case, since I didn't have access to any of the springs, the 4.6 millimeter standoffs were the only thing I could do. And as a result, there's about a, let's see, if I remember doing my math correctly, I think it was about a 3 millimeter deflection from full down to full extended. So, but check your references. The episode The Last Sunset, when they show a close-up of the landing pad on the first 44-inch Eagle when it touches down on Moonbase Alpha, that'll give you an idea of how much travel you want in your oleo struts. Let me show you another little thing that I did. Yes, the nose cone is held on to the front end with magnets. To do that, basically I've got four small magnets located in the bulkhead that attaches, and I've also got four other magnets located in the nose cone. I think I talked about that in one of my previous videos. I don't know. It was so long ago I can't entirely remember. But the reason I did that is because I added a lighting system to my Eagle transporter. Now, several others have done it too. I decided I wanted to be a little different. Rather than running a set of wires from the command module all the way into the first cage structure, I decided I wanted to keep everything self-contained inside the nose cone. There you go. Two pilots. I suppose it'd be Koenig and Alan Carter. I was pretty happy with how well the detail painting turned out. Initially, I was considering going with 2 AAA batteries to power everything. Well, I was a little concerned with how much weight that might produce, even with the strength of the magnets holding the nose on. So what I ended up doing was I got myself a CR123A battery, which is a 3-volt battery. You can use it in some garage door openers. Basically any dedicated battery place should have it. I went to Interstate Batteries. There was an office in town I was able to visit. Battery only cost me about $8. And the reason why I use that is because voltage-wise and milliamp-wise, it was actually equivalent to 2 AAA batteries, yet it was put in a really nice compact sized casing. And from that I was able to put the battery into a case which also was self-contained with 2 LEDs, and well, Wired everything up, painted everything up. Got the power switch located in the back here. And so as a result, I've got a fully detachable nose cone, which I can power up whenever I want to. And the battery in there, it was in there during Wonderfest. It powered the Eagle through almost one whole complete day and about half of the second day. And I've got no loss in power whatsoever. If I'd done it with AAAs, I probably would have lost a little bit of intensity on the lights, but not with this one. And I've got it configured that I can pull the battery out when I need to. I can even come up with a new lighting system if I need to, because I've only got the lighting box glued in there with microcrystal clear. Okay, one feature which I will point out is on my test shot, I had little plastic ridges to allow the glued together fronts of the nose cone to basically snap onto the back. As I understand it, that was a feature that was taken away on the first production kits. The factory in their infinite wisdom got rid of the little snap tabs. Round 2 ordered them to put them back in, and as far as I know, for the second production shot, to date I believe 4 production shots have been done. So for the second production shots, they went ahead and re-added that feature. So theoretically you can take the back end off the front of the nose cone without having to glue it on. One thing which I will make mention of if you do that, I'm not actually going to pull it off here, mainly because it involves a bit of squeezing of the command module, and I've also got a little bit of Valero crystal clear on there to keep it nice and secure. One thing I will point out is that if you go ahead and use that snap feature and say you don't go for a different attachment, such as taking the snaps off and say using magnets to hold the back wall onto the front, you will run into a problem of possibly stress cracking the nose cone seams if you try to use the snaps, unless you use some kind of reinforcement on the inside to keep that from happening. What I did was, after I glued the nose cone halves together, I basically added like a little gusset of some additional interior sheet styrene on the inside, and what that did was it basically spread the glue surface area so it wasn't really right on the seam. And after I let it dry good and rock hard for a day or two, using plastic weld glues to do this, do not use super glue. Result was I was able to flex the command module nose cone pretty good without worrying about it damaging anything. But even then, I don't recommend pulling the nose cone front half off the base plate very, very often if you keep those snap tabs. For my second model, since I have an early production shot that doesn't have those snap tabs, I'm going to use magnets to hold the back wall onto the front, making a couple of little flat plates. That should do the job, and that way I can theoretically pull things off a lot more easily. The passenger pod, in this case I've got it painted up to look like a rescue pod, and you can see the stripe pattern is a little different from what we've seen most of the reference photos having. I painted mine to look like the rescue pod from the episode Collision Course, which did not have the red extending all the way down. It also did not extend into the window cavities. That was a choice done by the studio modelers, because every time in the past that they had painted the pod red on one side, usually, even though they tried to use paint that was easy to wash off, usually caused problems, and they ended up having to repaint the pod anyway. So they decided, okay, well, maybe let's not put quite so much red on, that way we don't have to pull quite so much red off or cover over quite so much when we do it again. So that's the reason why my red pod is a little different. Now the stripes, to mask those off, pretty much each stripe is from here to here to here to here, and the other way is almost exactly 22 millimeters in width. and measure that out with a caliper. You can do it with a ruler as well. The center stripe can be a little short. Kind of use that. I decided to use that for like the fudge factor on both sides. And masking that took me about 5 hours, both sides, but I was very happy with the result. Now, if you're doing a normal passenger pod, you don't have to worry about that quite so much. Okay, now the big question. What color did I use to paint my Eagle? Well, since I had a test shot, it was not molded in the same color as what the production kits were molded in, so another reason why I wanted to wait was I wanted to see what color the production kits were molded in. That's a nose cone half from the Eagle that I bought. And as I understand it, the color that they selected for the plastic is about as closely matched to the original Eagle color as you can get. I did do some paint tests to try to figure out what the closest color match was, making sure that I selected paint brands which are commonly available in the US, and I came down to two choices. The first one is Tester's Model Master Camouflage Gray mixed with about 30% flat white. That will get you a very good match to the coloring. Now, unfortunately, they don't make camouflage gray in enamel bottle form anymore, so the only way to get it is as an acrylic. And so I mixed acrylic with 30% white. By the way, one tip: if you're going to be airbrushing Tester's Model Master acrylic, I found that the Tamiya acrylic paint thinner, Tamiya X20A, works very well with it. It does not cause any problems. Mix that and the pods and the cage structure and the nose cone, that's what I painted it in. And as you can see, it's a pretty good color match. The passenger pod, as you can see, is also a pretty good color match, and you're going to love this, especially if you like using spray cans. In desperation, since it was taking so long to do the pods and the nose cone, I decided to use Tamiya AS20 US Navy Insignia White. Reason why I selected it is because Insignia White is an off-white color. It's not a pure white. And I thought, well, it'll be close, and if it's not quite close, at least I don't have to use as many layers of airbrush paint to do it. Well, I sprayed the pod, and blammo, it was an exact match to the plastic. I even, to verify that, I even sprayed a little of this on the inside of this nose cone half, and I could not tell. I mean, heck, I still can't tell where the difference is between the paint and the plastic. It is that close a match. There's a little bit of a color difference from the pod to the assemblies that I did in the Model Master colors, but I mean, hey, the pods are not permanently attached to the Eagle, so there's some variation there. And for the second Eagle, I may end up using this again anyway. So, for spray painting, Tamiya AS20, get a couple of cans of that, and you can do the base coat all you want on the model. The beauty of it is, too, though, is with camouflage white, the straight color, it's a little darker, as I said. You got to mix it with 30% white if you're going to use it as the base color. But it does work pretty well as an accent color if you want to do some very, very subtle panel effects on the pod or on these areas. Now, the darker colors that you see on the pods, on the leg pods here, that's actually a different color. I think I ended up using Tester's Model Master Fulcrum Gray just because it was a warm gray that was close. I wanted something that was subtle. If you want something with a little bit more of a contrast, I mean, there's no rhyme or reason to it. This is not a close match to the actual color that the studio scale modelers used, so you can use whatever you want. Specifically, my color scheme matches pretty close to what the Eagle Transporter looked like after its first major repaint done before the episode The Last Sunset. And that's also the reason why on the on the nose cone. Don't think you can see it all that well. Well, but yeah, I use basically like a pale blue. As I understand it, late in Series 1, because the pale blue was not reading very well, they went ahead and went to a darker coloring on these panels. And so by about the episode Space Brain, they actually did another major repaint of the Eagle, probably after they did the rather gnarly looking crash where Koenig was trying to stop a nuclear charge armed unmanned Eagle, and he was able to pull the charges, but then he tried to moved it only a little bit and then undocked before it crashed. And when it crashed, it was probably one of the most spectacular Eagle crashes they ever did during Series 1. And after that, they had to do another major repaint of that model. So, but anyway, I really do like the results I achieved. Any work after this I do is going to be relatively minor. I might soot up the back of the engine bells with a little bit of, to me, a smoke tint. The decals went down very nice. I didn't like the coloring of the insignias that were provided in the decal sheets, so I went with some stickers that I ordered online, at least until hopefully maybe I can get my Alps printer running again. I did set up some Eagle Transporter artwork for the 11-inch a few years ago, and I would like to blow those up and use them on the 22. The insignias for the command module I did get from the model kit decals, and they'll suffice until I come up with a set of insignias I like a little better. But overall, I'm very, very happy with how this kit went together, and everybody that's been building the production kits is having a better time of it. Not taking quite so long, because this kit was first class when they tooled it up as the test shot, but now they've really made this thing a home run. I mean, as I said, since it's first come out, half a year, they've gone through 4 production runs. They're probably into their 5th one right now, and for a while the thing was sold out for about a month and a half, so that is incredible. Round 2 really hit it out of the park with this model. I do know that they are working on another Eagle variant. I can't say what it is, but we will be seeing that maybe early to mid part of next year. I had hoped maybe they might get it, might have something announced, but we probably won't hear an announcement until early next year. Until then, though, buy more Eagles. I mean, whatever the next one coming out is, it's probably going to have a different pod, but the core Eagle is there, and get the new kit when it comes out, and just build up the pod if you want. Now, for my second Eagle, I will be building that, and I will have it done by early January. I'm not going to be shooting a video on it because it will be appearing in print. I can't say what publication it will be appearing in, but when I do have the ability to announce that, I will make a video announcing it, so you can go out and buy that publication when it comes out. I'm going to put this to bed for now. I will be adding some additional striping to the cage structure just to make it look a little more accurate, and adding a little bit of weathering. And that's really all I need to do. As for my next model project, well, it won't be spacecraft related, but it'll be sci-fi related. It has 4 wheels, it's black, and it seems to have a scanner eye that's more in common with the Cylon than anything else. If that doesn't give you a hint, I don't know what will. But anyway, you'll be seeing a couple of videos related to that here very quick, because I'm trying to get that one done for a contest in August. As for other projects, I'll probably be starting work on my DeAgostini Millennium Falcon here pretty quick as well. I've got up to 70 issues worth of parts sitting in a big container, and it's about time to get it done. Oh, by the way, concerning the DeAgostini Falcon, yes, AS20. This is also the same color that Steve Dimzo recommends utilizing as base paint for the Millennium Falcon, and I agree with him. I mean, the coloring, like I said, it's camouflage gray with 30% white added. That's a perfect base color for a Millennium Falcon when you weather over the top. So I got to pick up a couple more cans of that to paint that big monster. But as you can see, the Eagle is done. It's lit. More stuff will be done with it, but for now, it's a finished piece. And thank you for watching.